Original sloka from Bhagavad Gita. Nahi jnanen sadrishyam pavitrami vidyate tatsvayam yoga sansiddha kale natmani vindate. Indeed, there is nothing purifying here comparable to knowledge. One who has become perfected after a long time through yoga realizes that by himself in his own heart. Book name Nahi Jnanen Sadrishyam Pavitrami Vidyate. Nothing is as purifying as wisdom. Book Introduction. This book discusses the importance of wisdom, which is acquired with app learning and has distinctive significance over the education one acquires through the current schooling system. The seer author has described in detail the areas in the current education system in India that need urgent attention for the betterment of the future generation. For ages, the focus of traditional education in India has been to produce literate in the form of undergraduates and postgraduates in various disciplines who lack basic practical knowledge or skills. This results in large-scale unemployability of the young uneducated. In the absence of a skill-based system, the whole infrastructure around the education system adds a burden to the system and fails to meet its purpose in today's world that seeks skill as an essential criterion for employability. Not only this, due to the mindset that identifies education merely as a tool to land a job and no more than that gives a wrong impression of value-based learning. Unlike the former, a value-based education has to be followed throughout our lifetime. The seer author has mentioned that due to this tendency, people develop an aversion to reading books as they feel that they are already past that age. He has mentioned that one should be very particular about the quality of books one reads. There is a significant difference between reading for pleasure or entertainment and reading for enriching our minds with positive thoughts that raise our level of understanding and makes us wiser. Whereas there is no dearth of cheap and low quality literature, one does not find good quality literature as readily. In this regard, public libraries can play an important role in making available such good quality literature that is inspirational and enriches our value systems. A public library is as pious and useful as a regular temple in this role. The seer author has beautifully presented the virtuous aspect of reading such literature and likens their company to very good friends. As also, he mentions that one can draw lifelong benefits from reading such literature. With examples of many renowned personalities like Mahatma Gandhi, Leo Tolstoy, John Ruskin, Dr. Arnold, and Rabindranath Tagore, the seer author relates their creations to their wisdoms that we can cherish even today. These great personalities had been prolific readers of good literature that helped them shape their personalities in their individual lives. As mentioned by the seer author, every thoughtful person should make efforts to convey the significance of good literature and motivate others to develop the habit of reading and continual learning. Few excerpts from the book. Education and wisdom are meaningful together. This is a general conception that the more resources one has got, the more affluent and better one's life is. This fact has been popularized immensely by the communists. As per their philosophies, it is believed that taking control of all the resources under the state, including from the rich or affluent, and distributing it amongst all to make everyone equally well off. But in this drive, they could control the distribution mechanism only, not the actual prosperity. On the other hand, capitalist countries like America went a step ahead to adopt means to make their people well off. In both instances, the basic question remains whether wealth can achieve refined personality traits in our lives. Looking at the personalities of the citizens of both these economies, we hardly find that encouraging and inspiring. In the context of affluent economies of oil rich nations of the Middle East, looking at the personal lives and activities of the super rich, we can hardly infer that the opulent affluence brings in refined personality traits of similar levels in our lives. Similar is the inference looking at the lives of most of the affluent people around the world. Education helps to refine one's outward personality traits, while true knowledge intrinsically develops our personality. The former develops one's skills and intelligence, whereas the latter develops fine personality traits like virtuosity, high value based traits, benignity, compassion, and considerate attributes. Whereas the first one is essential for physical development of society, the second one is essential for emotional growth and caring. A progressive and lively life can only be achieved by harmonizing the two together. In the absence of people with high character traits, multiple issues arise in the world. In the absence of high value systems in personality traits, so called intelligence has created more disparity than harmony in the world. Only that education is worthwhile, which makes an individual self dependent. Swami Vivekananda has expressed notions around the objectives of education with regard to the Indian context. The real purpose of education is to develop the intrinsic capabilities of human beings to its fullest. In these words, the true purpose and applicability of education are vividly expressed to realize one's capabilities and develop them to their fullest. Through the ages, the development of human beings has found its roots in the education levels at those times. It has been referred to as the medium of interpretation of accomplishments and achievements of family and society in general. In other words, we learnt whatever our ancestors and people in general achieved at their times, and by adding our achievements and accomplishments to that, passed it on to the next generation. In this way, every generation enriches the knowledge with its own accomplishments and achievements, and this continues so on and so forth. Indeed, this has tremendously developed the field of education today, so much that it is not feasible to be presented to any person in its entirety. Self development is inspired by nature, whereas transformation of the potential into capabilities is achieved in society. To cater this, humans developed an entire education system. Correspondingly, the ingredients of the education system should reflect the requirements of society. To flourish in a society, an individual needs to develop skills to cater his or her necessities in the physical, mental, and spiritual aspects. In addition, he or she should help build such a structure that brings about a similar avenue of growth for the new generation. This can be inferred as one of the requirements of the education system for the development of society. The educated but unemployed cohort of the population can be judiciously utilized in the small sector industries. This can be facilitated by cooperative organizations and available mechanisms. However, the shadow of the dark ages of colonialization persists in the psychological realms of the majority of mindsets as it gets reflected in the education system and corresponding employment sector. This was originally designed to meet the demands of colonial rulers that glorified office based culture for people working as clerks and related supportive occupations. This developed mindsets that looked down upon physical work and developed an aversion towards such occupations. This tendency resulted in making people's attitudes narrow minded towards work culture that continues in large part of the society to this. The education system that Mahatma Gandhi envisaged was impractically implemented in independent India, which has resulted in its obvious failure. Practical education should have been incorporated into the curriculum in such a way that students in the grade of year 6 onwards should learn skills such as tailoring, shoe mending, carpentry, blacksmith, gardening, weaving, painting, including modern technology skills. But in the absence of guidance, such skills are not delivered during the school years, and as a result, students who pass out their high school exams have merely bookish knowledge with no practical experience. Spreading the light of education is an important responsibility of the learned. Education has a very important role to play in the development of the personality and character of an individual. In the absence of right education, a person remains unaware of the critical developments in social and cultural spheres of life for making life better and socially useful. Even the animals lead a mundane life filled with day to day activities related to eating and regular chores. If this is all that a human being attains in their regular life, there remains a little distinction between them. Certainly, this is not the case, and accordingly, the activities of human beings are far more expanded and stretched. Teachers should understand their bigger roles. Teachers have a distinct and important place in every society. Not only do they serve as a link between the older and the new generation, but they also lay the foundation for the future generation. It is an accepted fact that the responsibility of one's personality development rests truly with them, but through guidance and training have their own important role. A teacher is the one who is responsible for providing that crucial support to the young generation. That's the reason for respect and reverence for teachers. In current times, teachers' role remains crucial as before, even though the education system makes them appear like salaried employees. There are serious flaws in the current education system that need a total revamp. The reform process must start with the teachers by appreciating their crucial role and understanding their responsibilities towards students. Spreading the knowledge through inspirational literature is the need of the hour. Many avenues have opened that were unimaginable earlier in the current scientific age. In earlier ages of development, the primary medium of learning was in the company of the learned. Still, with the advent of printing technology and books, anyone who is keen to acquire knowledge can get the very best in the world in the form of books. The printing press has revolutionized the education medium, and the availability of books has opened the door to education for everyone. Whereas this has its advantages, other aspects of misuse of this media also pose a significant challenge to the value system in society. This is because of the commercialization of this sector and publication of popular literature, which usually is of lower grade and often misleading. Reading merely for entertainment purposes does not fully serve the purpose of learning, as the quality of literature available for entertainment purposes falls short of such a standard. The quality of literature significantly matters when it comes to learning and knowledge in the true sense of the word. To distinguish between the two, we shall identify only such literature as inspirational and uplifting. Regular reading of such literature is as crucial as having regular meals. This is because, unlike animals, human beings must cater to their intellects as judiciously as to their physical body requirements. That necessitates the ready availability of such inspiring and thoughtful literature instead of the degraded quality and vilifying ones. First, we must change the tendency of people to discontinue reading books as they regard it unnecessary for the various reasons, chiefly as having outgrown the age to read. We should make them appreciate the fact that as we continue to have food throughout our life to sustain our physical body, we should continue to read good books to cater our intellectual being. If developed at the right time, this basic understanding shall help overcome many hurdles in our lives. Nobody should be left behind in the pursuit of learning. Good literature has been described as a priceless asset as they provide direction and help whenever sought. People spend fortunes on acquiring things of materialistic values that degrade over time, but good books remain a source of inspiration and knowledge forever. Whereas the availability of inspiring literature is a challenge, the other factor that comes as a hindrance in this regard is the cost associated with good literature. Public libraries can play an important role in making them accessible and available to people in general. People who can afford it should contribute to this cause of setting up the public libraries as any other social cause. This fact needs to be appreciated that the importance of such a library is similar to establishing a temple. There can be chances of mismanagement or corruption at a regular temple. It can also be subject to physical damages and possible destruction, as was done by mid-century invaders in India. A public library, even after destruction, continues to provide the light and inspiration from whatever is left behind that literature. Few topics covered in the book. Education and wisdom are meaningful together. Only that education is worthwhile which makes an individual self-dependent. Spreading the light of education is an important responsibility of the learned. Teachers should understand their bigger roles. Spreading the knowledge through inspirational literature is the need of the hour. Nobody should be left behind in the pursuit of learning. Illustrious personalities have Swadhyay, learning about self, as a common quality. There should be no negligence in Swadhyay, regular learning from good literature.